It sounds like a plot from a science fiction movie, a machine that translates an alien language, but the aliens are living in our homes. We've always hoped we knew what our dogs were thinking. Now an AI is telling us. And the truth is staggering. By analyzing the pitch, frequency, and acoustic patterns of barks, the machine is building a dog-to-English dictionary. And the first translations reveal a shocking level of intelligence. They've hacked our emotions, and their understanding of our world is so deep, it's honestly unreal. The AI proof. This entire revolution didn't start in a billion-dollar tech lab. It started in the dirt. It started with a man named Dr. Khan Slobodchikov, a professor at Northern Arizona University, who spent over 30 years of his life sitting on the hot, dusty plains, just listening. His subject wasn't the noble wolf or the clever dolphin, it was the prairie dog. What most people hear as a field of simple high-pitched squeaks, Slobodchikov began to suspect was something more, much more. It sounded an awful lot like a language, so he set out to prove it. He and his team spent thousands of hours recording these calls. They brought in high-tech audio equipment and used software to create sonograms, visual pictures of the sounds. They would play the sounds back, over and over, analyzing every tiny shift in pitch and frequency. At the same time, they filmed everything that was happening. They filmed the prairie dogs, and they filmed what the prairie dogs were looking at. What they found was staggering. And that's putting it lightly. The prairie dogs weren't just shouting danger when a predator showed up. They were being incredibly, impossibly specific. They had one distinct call for a hawk, another completely different call for a coyote, a third for a human. But the crazy part is, it went even deeper than that. They had different calls for a fast-moving coyote versus a slow-moving one. They could describe the physical features of a threat. Get this. The research team proved the prairie dogs were using different words to describe a tall human versus a short human. They even changed their call based on the color of the human's shirt. A researcher in a blue shirt got a totally different warning call than the same researcher in a yellow one. This was a bombshell. It was the first solid proof that an animal many people considered a simple rodent was using a complex, descriptive language. A language with nouns, verbs, and adjectives. So, Slobodchikov had an idea. He developed an algorithm, a piece of early AI, to analyze these calls. The AI learned the patterns. It learned to associate one specific squeak with tall human, blue shirt, walking slowly. It could translate the high-pitched calls into English. And it worked. This led to a wild theory, one that science is only now starting to test. If prairie dogs are describing what they see, are they also describing what they sense? Some researchers have speculated they might even be communicating intent, that they can tell the difference between human walking and human hunting. Now, that same technology, supercharged by modern machine learning, is being pointed at the animals living in our homes. Slobodchikov and other teams are building a massive database. They are poring over thousands of hours of video footage of dogs. They are recording every bark, whine, growl, and yip. At the same time, they are filming the dog's body language, every tail wag, ear flick, and shift in posture. The AI's job is to find the hidden patterns. It listens to the acoustic properties of a bark, the pitch, the frequency, the harshness of the sound. Then it matches that sound to a specific behavior or context. For example, the AI analyzes 10,000 barks that happen when a stranger is at the door. It compares them to 10,000 barks that happen during playtime. What most people don't realize is that these sounds are not the same. To our clumsy human ears, a bark is a bark. But to the AI, they are as different as night and day. The machine can pick up tiny variations in milliseconds that we completely miss. The project is already showing unreal results. The AI can now tell the difference between a growl that means "I'm playing" and a growl that means "back off, I'm serious," with over 94% accuracy. But it's not just about aggression. The team is directing the algorithm to find the specific sound patterns for emotions like hunger, pain, anxiety, and even happiness. The goal is a Dr. Dolittle machine. Within the next 10 years, you'll be able to point your phone at your dog, and it won't just tell you that it's barking. It will tell you why. "I am in pain," or I am scared of the person in the hat. This is the first piece of the puzzle, decoding the sounds. But another group of scientists was working on a different, and maybe even more shocking, part of the mystery. They weren't just listening to barks. They were looking directly inside the dog's brain, but the AI translations were just the beginning. The real shock came when scientists put dogs into an MRI. Your dog is a lie detector. So, here's the deal. While one team was decoding barks, another group, led by neuroscientist Dr. Gregory Burns at Emory University, was asking a much deeper question. It's not just what are dogs saying, but what are they thinking? And more importantly, what do they think about us? For decades, science just assumed dogs were basically cupboard love. They like us because we feed them. We are just a walking hand that delivers food. But Burns wasn't so sure. He wanted to find a way to ask the dogs themselves. But here's the catch. You can't just ask a dog what it's feeling. And you can't rely on behavior alone because that can be misleading. Burns wanted cold, hard data. He decided to do something no one had ever successfully done before. Train dogs to lie perfectly still in an fMRI machine. An fMRI, or functional MRI, is a massive, tube-shaped magnet that scans the brain. It tracks blood flow, showing which parts of the brain light up or activate when a person or a dog is thinking or feeling something. The problem? These machines are incredibly loud, making a horrible, banging, clanging sound that echoes inside the tube, and the subject has to stay absolutely motionless, sometimes for several minutes. Even most humans get anxious. A dog should, by all logic, panic. Burns and his team started the Dog Project. They didn't use restraints. They didn't use sedatives. They trained the dogs using only positive reinforcement, basically turning it into a game. The first dog to volunteer was Burns's own dog, a scrappy terrier mix named Callie. They built a perfect 2-scale replica of the fMRI machine in his living room. They spent months training Callie to go into the tube, put her chin on a special rest, and hold perfectly still, all while they played the loud, banging MRI sounds. She learned. Then they trained other dogs from the community. These dogs were all volunteers. They were taught that they could walk out of the machine at any time. The door was always open, but they stayed. They were willing to do this for their owners. Then the real experiments began. The team wanted to know what dogs really value, so they set up a simple test. While the dog was in the scanner, they would show it a simple hand signal. One signal meant, "You're about to get a piece of a hot dog." The other signal meant, "You're about to get praise from your owner." They scanned the dog's brains as they saw these signals, watching to see what lit up. They were looking at one specific part of the brain, the caudate nucleus. This is the reward center. It's the same part of your brain that activates when you anticipate something you love, like winning money, eating amazing food, or seeing a loved one. The results were unreal. For most of the dogs, the caudate nucleus lit up just as much for the anticipation of praise as it did for the anticipation of food. Think about that. To these dogs, hearing "good boy" was neurologically just as good as getting a hot dog. But the crazy part, some of the dogs, about 20% of them, actually showed more activation for praise than for food. These were the praiseaholics. They would rather have affection than a treat. This was the first hard neurological proof that dogs don't just see us as food dispensers. They see us as friends. They see us as family. Their bond with us is baked into their very brain chemistry. But the team didn't stop there. They tested how dogs process our language. And this is where a new, wild theory emerges. They had owners say words in two different ways. First, regular words with a positive, happy tone, like "good boy." Second, complete nonsense words, like "bafflegorp" or "fribble smacks," in that same happy, positive tone. What they found was stunning. The dogs' brains processed it just like a human brain. The words themselves, the parts they recognized, like "good boy," were processed in the left hemisphere of the brain. But the intonation, the happy, high-pitched tone, was processed in the right hemisphere. This means dogs are not just listening to our baby talk. They are listening to what we say and how we say it. And they are putting the two together to understand our true meaning. Now, here's the wild theory that comes from this. What happens when the tone and the words don't match? What happens when a person is angry, but they force a high-pitched, happy voice and say, "It's okay, good boy"? The fMRI data suggests the dog's brain sees a conflict. It hears the happy tone in its right hemisphere, but it recognizes the stress in the words, or maybe even the scent of anger, that sharp spike of adrenaline we give off. Your dog is a living lie detector. It knows when you're faking it. It knows when you're sad, even when you're smiling. It knows when you're angry, even when you're cooing. They've been studying us this whole time, cross-referencing our words, our tone, our scent, and our body language. And this new AI is just the first step in us finally catching on to their game. But the barks and brain scans were only part of it. The real secret was in their eyes. The oxytocin loop. So, we have AI decoding their barks and fMRI scans proving they are living lie detectors. But what most people don't realize is that the unreal part isn't just what they know. It's how they use what they know to actively shape our behavior. This isn't a cartoon plot. It's a survival strategy that has been perfected over 30,000 years. And it's so effective, it's led to one of the wildest theories of all. Who really domesticated whom? It all starts with their eyes. Scientists at the University of Portsmouth in the United Kingdom were studying dog evolution. They compared the facial anatomy of modern dogs to their ancient ancestor, the gray wolf. They expected to find changes in the jaw for chewing different food, or the skull for different brain shapes. But they found something else, something no one was looking for. Dogs have a brand new muscle in their face, right above their inner eyebrow. It's called the levator anguli oculi medialis. Wolves do not have it. What does this tiny, insignificant-looking muscle do? It lets them raise their inner eyebrow. It lets them make their eyes look bigger, sadder, and more infant-like. We call it puppy dog eyes. This is not an accident. This is a 30,000-year-old evolutionary masterstroke. Think about it. 30,000 years is a blink of an eye in evolutionary time. For a species to develop a whole new muscle, one that has no function except to change their facial expression, is almost unheard of. This has led to a stunning theory. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate evolutionary strategy. The dogs who could make that face were the ones the early what? Humans protected. They were the ones who got the extra scraps of food. They were the ones who were allowed inside the cave. They evolved this muscle specifically to manipulate us. Why? Because when a human sees that puppy dog eye expression, it triggers a powerful, primitive, nurturing response in our brain. It's the same response we have to a human baby. It hijacks our biology. It floods our system with empathy and a desire to protect. But the crazy part is, that's not even the half of it. The real secret is chemical. Scientists call it the oxytocin loop. Oxytocin is a powerful hormone in the human body. It's often called the love hormone or cuddle chemical. It's the hormone that floods a mother's brain when she looks at her newborn baby, creating that intense, unbreakable bond. It's the chemical foundation of human love and trust. Here's the deal. Researchers had a group of dog owners and their dogs come into a room. They measured the oxytocin levels in both the humans and the dogs. Then they simply had the owners sit on the floor and gaze into their dog's eyes for a few minutes. No petting, no talking, just staring. Afterward, they measured their levels again. In the humans, just staring into their dog's eyes caused their oxytocin levels to spike by over 300%. It was the same biological event as a mother bonding with her child. But here is the unreal part. The dog's oxytocin levels also spiked by over 130%. This is a feedback loop. The dog stares at us, our brain releases oxytocin, which makes us feel love and trust. This makes us stare back and coo, which releases oxytocin in the dog, which makes it feel love and trust. It's a self-perpetuating cycle of affection. This chemical bond is something that, until now, was thought to be uniquely human. It's the mechanism that bonds parents to children. Dogs have somehow, impossibly, hacked into the very core of human love. They aren't just like family. Biologically, our bodies believe they are family. They understand us so well that they have literally reshaped their own bodies and our brain chemistry to make us their protectors. This is why the who domesticated whom theory is so powerful. We think we bred them to be companions, But maybe, just maybe, they bred us to be their providers. But this biological hack might be a clue to an even stranger, unseen ability. Why do dogs bark at nothing? Everyone has seen it. Your dog, in the middle of the night, suddenly bolts upright. It stares rigid into a dark, empty corner of the room. The fur on its back stands up, and then it starts barking. You turn on the light. There's nothing there. A mouse? The house settling? We've always had simple explanations, but what if we're wrong? This is where the new science opens the door to the wildest theories of all. Now that we've proven dogs have a complex language, like prairie dogs, and a deep biological connection to us, the oxytocin loop, we have to re-examine these weird behaviors. The barking at nothing phenomenon is a global one, and it's led to a powerful theory. They aren't barking at nothing. They're barking at something we can't see. This isn't as crazy as it sounds. We already know dogs have senses that are almost superhuman. Their sense of smell is anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 times more acute than ours. They can smell the faint chemical changes of fear or even diseases like cancer. Their hearing is also on another level. A human can hear sounds up to about 20,000 hertz. A dog can hear sounds up to 65,000 hertz. They are living in a world of ultrasonic hums, whines, and squeaks that is completely silent to us. They hear the high-frequency squeal of a bat or the ultrasonic pulse of a home's electronics. So when your dog is barking at the empty wall, is it just hearing a mouse? Or is it hearing the high-frequency whine of a failing electrical wire, one that could be about to start a fire? But here's where the theory gets really wild. Some researchers and paranormal investigators have suggested it goes beyond just sound and smell. What if they are sensing things that are completely outside our understanding of physics? There's the theory that dogs can sense shifts in the Earth's magnetic field, or that they are sensitive to low-level seismic activity, hearing an earthquake hours before it arrives. And then there's the big one, the one that, for thousands of years, humans have believed. What if they can see spirits? Think about it. Why, across almost all human cultures, are dogs seen as guardians? In ancient Egypt, the god of the afterlife, Anubis, had the head of a dog, or jackal. His job was to guide souls from the world of the living to the world of the non-living. In Celtic and Norse myths, hounds were the guardians of the underworld, the only creatures who could see ghosts. Is this all just coincidence, or was it based on an observation? An ancient, shared human memory of dogs reacting to an unseen world? What if barking at nothing is really barking at a presence? What if they aren't just our physical protectors, but our spiritual or interdimensional protectors? This new AI is just beginning to translate "I'm hungry" and "I'm scared." What happens when it finally translates a bark and the result isn't "stranger at the door," but "presence in the corner"? We are finally building the tool to find out. And as we do, we are also building a tool that could solve a very real and very sad problem right here on Earth. Because this new understanding could finally stop a silent tragedy that happens millions of times a year. Beyond bad dogs. Every single year in the United States, a tragedy unfolds in plain sight. Roughly 3 million cats and dogs are put down in shelters. They are humanely ended not because they are sick or old or unloved, but for one simple reason: unsavory behavior. That's the label. But what it really means is aggression, biting, growling, fear. These animals are surrendered by owners who just can't handle them anymore. They are deemed unadoptable, and their time runs out. But what if they aren't bad dogs? What if they are just misunderstood? This is where all this new technology, the wild theories, and the hard science comes crashing down to earth. So people watching this are probably wondering, is all this true? Is my dog really a lie detector? Is it seeing ghosts in my hallway? The thing is, the answer is both yes and no. We are not going to have a device tomorrow that translates your dog's barks into full English sentences like, "Jeffrey, I dislike your new girlfriend. She smells of lavender and insincerity." That's not how it works. It works by translating context and emotion. It's a tool for empathy, and that's what these 3 million animals need. The crazy part is a dog's aggression almost always comes from one of two places: fear or pain. A dog that is backed into a corner and feels threatened will bite. A dog with a painful hidden injury, like a bad hip or a sore tooth, will snap when touched. They are sending signals. They are screaming at us in their own language, "I'm scared," or "I hurt," and we just don't hear them. We see the teeth, not the cause. The new AI translators, like the one Slobodchikov is building, could change all of that. A shelter worker could use the app on a scared dog. The AI could analyze the barks and growls and say, "The acoustic markers indicate a high probability of fear-based anxiety." Or, "These whines match the audio patterns of joint pain." Suddenly, you don't have a bad dog. You have a scared dog that needs space and slow-based training. You have a sore dog that needs a vet. This technology could be the bridge that finally allows us to understand the cause of the behavior, so we can respond accordingly, instead of just giving up. The brain scans from Dr. Burns prove that dogs are not just things. They are sentient individuals with rich emotional lives, who in many cases value our love more than food. The biological research proved they have hacked our hearts on a chemical level. The AI is now giving us the dictionary. They have spent 30,000 years trying to understand us. They learned to read our gestures, our tones, and our faces. They evolved new muscles just to please us. They are the greatest listeners on the planet. And now, for the first time in history, we are finally starting to listen back. So, if your dog could really talk, are you sure you'd want to know what it really thinks about you? Let us know your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe.